Alright, good morning, y'all. How y'all doing? Of course, we're here, and, I am doing something of a follow-up to some things that I said yesterday in the video I posted. Of course, talked about this particular situation right here, or at least of sorts. It was more in regards to Drew Gulak, but I kind of want to address both sides of this here really quickly. You see, I just, you know, have some really interesting feelings about that. Not even so much just because of the things that I said yesterday, but I have dealt with bullying to some degree at some point. I think a lot of us have, fair to say. One way or another, it's not something anybody deserves to have to tolerate at all for any reason whatsoever. I don't care what your situation is. That being said, the things that he was actually doing to people just isn't okay. Now, where Rhonda is concerned, I can't say that any differently either, but it's actually crazy because I find that there have been two different perspectives to this because, it's just really tricky because we don't know any bit of what happens behind the scenes, or even behind closed doors for that matter, and I sort of reference the Chris Jericho situation as well, because there is a common aspect of that. Shout out to my best friend Darren. Best wishes to him as he's going in for a procedure today. Apologies for putting that out there, but just wanted to put that out there because I'm looking forward to seeing a text from him that it all went well. But regardless, it's just really interesting because something that he said to me, I really have no argument for or against at all. And his point of it was have some evidence, whether it was Rhonda or Kylie Ray or whoever it may be that you want to talk about in this. And that's fine. I don't have any personal problem with that. The flip side to it, however, is that given just history with the world generally speaking, women kind of haven't had it as well as they should have. In a lot of ways, they still don't. It's a lot better than it was at one point. But, I feel like a lot of things are different now. Is it enough? No. And also in that same light, you could look at it in regards to how people treat Black history and all the things that are pertaining to that. But, I'm not going to go into any of those things. All I'm trying to say here is that, while I agree with the have evidence aspect of it, I'm also willing to offer a benefit of the doubt. Now, I've also seen situations where we've seen, plenty of women crying wolf about that sort of thing, and that's where the issue is. We don't know necessarily that that isn't the case here. But just speaking specifically about Ronda Rousey, me personally, I couldn't care less about her, and that's not to throw shade or disrespect her or anything like that. It's just, she removed herself from the pro wrestling scene, specifically WWE, and I don't know if what she intended to do was her way of making Drew Gulak accountable or whatever. I'm not really privy to that information. I don't care. I really don't care. All I know is one way or another, she removed herself from all of this. She had her little one-off thing with Marina Shafir around Ring of Honor. I mean, she made her decision to remove herself from wrestling for whatever the reason may be, Let it just be that. I'm just not here for people making themselves relevant just because of their name, because, her name is a lot bigger than any of the other names. In fact, none of them were revealed as far as who we're talking about involving Drew Gulak. It's just she gets talked about because of her name, you know, and that's really all it is to it. Now, I only say that because that's really all we need to treat it for, and let's just keep it moving after that. But moving on from that, you know, we're going to talk a little bit about the King and Queen of the Ring. I'm going to preface everything I'm about to say by telling you guys I have not watched Raw last night. I say that because I mentioned before we've got some real changes going on at work. You know, we've had a lot that's been different. I've had to make some adjustments. But one thing that's common, and I know a lot of you can relate to this, when I get home from work, I'm tired as fuck. So it's hard to keep up, and what doesn't help with that is the fact that, especially here in Denver, and unless you have certain services, I'm not going to go into that, but if you don't have certain services, especially here in Colorado, you're watching Raw at 9 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. To whereas normally, and this is actually how it was back in the day, we'd be seeing that shit at about 7. Actually, for us, it should be 6 now since it's 3 hours. I mean, unless I go through specific means or go through certain providers, I guess, I can't really see it until 8, 9 o'clock. That being said, I gotta say, I know some of the results. I don't know everything, but I do know some of the results. I also know that the images that I have up for you right here are also very much, you know, empty as far as the SmackDown side of it's concerned. But I do actually have that information, at least for the men's bracket, which I'll go over that side here real quick. For the men, the SmackDown side, we've got Styles and Orton, Corbin and Carmelo, looks like LA Knight and Santos Escobar, and then Lashley against Tama Tonga, I'm assuming. I don't think Tonga Loa is going to be doing anything in-ring wise right away, but we'll see. I mean, he's probably been training. I mean, hell, if he saw Backlash this weekend, he's looking pretty damn good, which I do want to talk a little bit about Backlash, but that'll be for later. That said, however, going into the Raw side, we've got Gunther. You'll probably see I've got results for Raw, or at least some of them, obviously. We've got Gunther who beat Sheamus. You got one match that didn't take place yet, as far as we know, in Kofi and Rey Mysterio. You've got Ilya having defeated Ricochet, and then Jimmy Uso defeated Finn Balor. I'm sorry, I'm having to see this on my own thing, so it's hard for me to see. My eyes aren't as great as they should be. I definitely need to see an eye doctor. But anyway, pretty cool stuff. I do know for a fact that the finale was, or is going to be Jay and Gunther at the King and Queen of the Ring PLE, which is going to be in Jeddah. I'm going to have some things to say about that later, but that's going to be a fun one to look forward to for a variety of reasons. We're just going to go into the women's side, which again, same thing. Unfortunately, we only got the Raw side of it. And I'm also going to let you know I don't have anything as far as the SmackDown side. Hopefully by the time I do my next video, that information will be out. But I can't do anything on that until that's revealed. But again, they did reveal the men's side of it. Now, getting to the women, of course, you've got Shayna Baszler and Zelina Vega, which Zelina defeats Shayna. You've got Io and Natalya, which Io wins that one. Originally it was Asuka and Lyra, but Asuka was, for whatever reason, replaced by Dakota Kai. I'm assuming illness or injury on that one. And then, of course, Ivy versus Zoe, which, with that side of the bracket, it's going to be it's going to end up being Lyra versus Zoe. I don't know who wins that one. I want to think they've had those matches. I just don't know. And then, of course, the other side, it's Zelina versus Io. That one's going to be tricky because on one hand, you have the former WWE Women's Champion in Io Sky, who just dropped the title to Bayley at WrestleMania. And then you have the reigning Queen of the Ring in Zelina Vega. Again, I don't know the results, so anything regarding that, please do not say anything at all in the comment section beyond what I'm saying here. And the final topic that I'm going to close this video out with. But, yeah, I just gotta say, I like what they did with this bracket. It's what it needs to be, and if nothing else, you know, it's just pretty cool because they're really, at least as far as I can tell, again, I haven't seen anything, but they seem to be pushing one side just as much as the other. And I would like to think they're making a big deal of it. I mean, I can't help but love everything about what's going on, especially with WWE as a whole. And it's just so much more enjoyable than it has been in years. And I say that as a perfect segue because this guy right here, my man Phil Brooks, of course, CM Punk, obviously. But yeah, it's just, it's really funny to me because I think about how, you know, just his history in general, going back to the pipe bomb, all the way to his departure, his whatever you want to call that with UFC, and then obviously his run, for lack of a better term, with AEW. Now, I gotta say, and I actually pointed this out on Twitter when I saw a clip of his promo, yeah, I'm sorry, Tony, you really fumbled the bag on this one. And not just for the way that you handled this specific situation here, but more specifically because of the fact that at the end of the day, you know, I'd look at this a little bit differently if the petty vibes weren't so obvious, you know. And what's more also hilarious about this is the fact that, you know, and he actually played into it during his promo, you know, talking about Drew being more of a choke artist than he is, but Punk being a choke artist of a different variety. And I absolutely loved that for everything that is, you know. I mean, that was just fantastic. But I say this for both sides, you know. It's going to be a really, really huge win. Punk seems to be on his best behavior with WWE at this point, and it's obvious. You don't really hear any bad things about it. In fact, a former detractor of CM Punk and Booker T actually seems to be on Booker's side to some degree. Or on CM Punk's side to some degree, excuse me. I don't know how much so, at least outside of the comments that he made on last week's Raw during the draft. But if nothing else, I'd like to think that we can say, at least other than where it pertains to the Young Bucks, really the Elite specifically, the Young Bucks, Jack Perry, and Tony Khan specifically, I've got to exclude Okada in this, but, and of course I'll do a follow-up on this, but just speaking on the contrast of those things specifically, you know, I gotta say Tony Khan is really the low man on the totem pole in this, for all the obvious reasons. But more than anything else, though, him airing that footage of Brawl In was obviously intended to be a shot back at CM Punk for the comments CM Punk made on the Ariel Helwani, or the MMA Hour with Ariel Helwani. I gotta tell you, it failed. It failed miserably. I don't know any other way to look at it, and that's where I'm gonna leave it because I'm having taken way long with this, and as I mentioned, work before I gotta get to work. So, you know what it is. Let me know what y'all think. I mean, that's just where I'm at with that. Yeah. Y'all know what it is. Like, share, subscribe. Let me know what y'all think. I'll be back later.